Hi, Senator Moran. We just did a story yesterday. Maxine Waters and Ranking Member McHenry are calling for reimpose sanctions against Rusal, Deripaska. Would you agree to that?
I have not enough knowledge. I mean, I just off the cuff. I mean,
okay.
I don't know the answer to this question, but.
And the bigger problem is the Chinese are trying to buy Gazprom, Rusal, Russian assets on a fire sale now. Are you for secondary sanctions against those who be trading either directly or indirectly with those buying Russian assets?
You're asking me really consequential questions that have no more than this 6 seconds of thought. So, if you want to ask me, I need to understand better what's going on.
Basically, they're buying in Dubai, places that are not in sanctions, stakes in Gazprom, Rusal, the Russian companies.
I would mean my general reaction is we need to make certain that our sanctions are enforced and that the consequences of trying to get around sanctions that are not allowed.
How about, I think American banks can deal with foreign banks that are not FATCA compliant, requiring that every American...
You are too knowledgeable for me.
Oh, and last question about Putin. It seems like Putin snatched defeat from the jaws of victory in this. I mean...
everything that I know in the analysis is that this was expected by Putin to be an easily accomplishable goal, has not turned out to be, and will continue to be something that lingers for months, and I would guess decades.
Do you think NATO overestimated the strength of the Russian military? I mean, they're shambles.
I think we've seen that the Russian military is not what I think the image of it was.
But you're getting information from NATO and U.S., and you're the elected official. Were you getting the wrong information on the strength of the Russian military?
For a long time, the intelligence community has been highlighting the challenges of China and their adversarial relationship with the United States, more so than Russia.
So nobody's really watching the ball.
No, I didn't mean it that way. I just meant that their analysis moved on from Russia being, our prime threat.
Yeah.
So maybe the intelligence community did recognize that.
I mean, you are one of the biggest wheat producers in the world in Kansas, Ukraine. What would you do now? I mean, try to get the DFC to put more investment in Ukraine?
I've already asked Secretary Vilsack to, from both an economic and humanitarian side, to up the game of the United States in getting wheat into foreign markets, to try to fill the gap from, I think Russia and Ukraine is about 25% of the world exports of wheat.
Yeah.
And you're actually now talking to me something I know a little bit about.
Yeah.
Farmers.
Farmers, yeah. I mean, farmers are paying both in Russia and Ukraine for this war.
We are paying if we don't increase our exports, we're paying on the price side, and we're paying on the cost of production side with fuel, fertilizer, diesel, natural gas. So, but we also are asking USAID and USDA to do more in food aid.
Yeah.
Because the humanitarian needs.
How about the United States Development Finance Corporation, the new OPEC? People are complaining they have done almost nothing in getting U.S. investment even before this, and they're keeping silent while the EBRD is taking action. Do you think the new CEO, Nathan Scott, should be more vocal and more? I mean, that's the American private equity. That's what it's there for.
Right. Again, I don't know. You're telling me things I heard of, but you're telling me things I don't have any facts on.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Your suggestion that an invasion of the capital city is inevitable or soon, I think it's true. The sad facts are that Ukraine is significantly outnumbered, outmanned. The size of the militaries are exponentially different. Capabilities of Russian equipment versus Ukrainian equipment are different as well. And it's hard to see the outcome, having any kind of good outcome that is eventually achieved. The amazing thing, the pleasing thing, the inspirational thing is that President Zelensky and the Ukrainians are so committed to freedom and liberty that they're willing to sacrifice to the significant degree that they are in support of that. My view is that we owe them a lot of support, which I hope the United United States of America, the American people will continue to buy. So, just a real circumstance in which perhaps reminds Americans of the value of freedom and liberty, and people are still willing to sacrifice their lives in that cause. And having set that stage, I mean, death to many Ukrainians and a demise, a potential demise of the country that was pursuing freedom is certainly the most important thing that we ought to reflect on. But it does have economic and military consequences to the United States. We have about 80,000 American troops in Europe on any given day, regardless or unrelated to this recent events. The president has called up another 11,000, but I expect to call up even more. We're in the process of passing a spending bill that will include about another $15 billion in aid to Ukraine that should pass the House and Senate this week. And we'll see the consequences of higher commodity prices in agriculture. Russia and Ukraine are the largest exporters of wheat in the world, and those ports and their capabilities are now diminished, if not eliminated. And then, of course, the consequence to the price of oil, and therefore the price of gas. But as we put our men and women of our military at risk, there are soldiers from Fort Riley, Kansas, who serve in Poland and Romania now, and as we ask those families to sacrifice, it seems to be that it is to be not only hypocritical but immoral for us to continue to fund the Russian efforts in Ukraine and potentially Europe by our purchases of oil. Finally, I know this wasn't the topic of conversation. Incidentally, Doug introduced me to the senior senator from Kansas. That's a relatively new occurrence. I became the senior senator in January when Senator Roberts retired. And I didn't know the distinction to be made, so what difference does it make to be the senior senator? What I've discovered is that I now just talk a lot. It's not a good thing for the audience, and I apologize in advance. But here's the ominous thing that I would want to convey to you. I don't think we have any comfort level in that Putin will be satisfied with Ukraine. And his interest, there's growing reports, and I'm a member of the Appropriations Committee that funds the Department of Defense and funds our intelligence communities, and I'm entitled to every classified briefing, and I'm not telling you anything that I learned in those settings, but there are growing reports that not only what we know that Putin is evil, but he is also demented, irrational. And I take that very seriously in large part because what we saw with the attack on a nuclear reactor or nuclear reactors in Ukraine, and the fear or concern I have for the outcome of this circumstance is that unless Putin and Russia pay such a significant price for their envelopment of Ukraine, there are other countries that I would imagine are in the sight of Putin. And that is, Ukraine is not a NATO country. We have no treaty obligations to them. They are a struggling democracy. But there's a couple other former Soviet countries that are in similar kinds of circumstances. But once you get beyond that, it becomes places like Romania, Poland, and the Baltics that are perhaps in the sight of Putin. So nothing about this ought to be taken lightly. And significant consequences could certainly already happen. Could be even greater.
I appreciate your comments. It is the issue of the moment, so I appreciate you sharing your perspectives. I also want to say thank you. Senator Moran is the ranking.
That what Russia has done, what Putin has done, is he's a thug. He has no justification. Russia does not belong in Ukraine. Russia recognized Ukraine during the demise of the Soviet Union, and this is the most aggressive, consequential event to occur in Europe since the end of World War II. The developments, I suppose, in part, our Congress had reached an agreement to ban oil imports from Russia. President Biden made the announcement that the administration was doing that before Congress had a chance to pass that legislation. So in this case, the administration and Congress were at a joined in the effort to accomplish this goal. I was on a call with President Zelensky on Saturday morning. This was one of his requests, in addition to a no-fly zone, or at least a Polish aircraft, actually Russian MiGs, Soviet-era style,